Hey Aquarius, what's going on? This reading is going to be about what will be happening for you over the next 3 days. The first card that we have out is the High Priestess. And the Eight of Pentacles, okay. Having the High Priestess be added to the mix, it can be a time when you're feeling like you get insights, especially from a place that kind of transcends just like a logical, how did I know that? Or how did I understand things to play out, or just what you would normally know. It can be a time when you feel like more connected than usual, and if you already usually feel connected, you can feel even more connected. You know, you can be seeing like synchronicities more often. You can just like have a sense of things too, where maybe you don't have certain practical knowledge or theoretical knowledge of something, and then there's something that you just like you get a feeling about. You know, it can be inspired ideas that you get, or just like knowings that you have. It can be things like that. This can also be you continuing to work on something that involves your intuition. What this can mean too, to have High Priestess and Eight of Pentacles, if there's something that you do that's like esoteric or mystical or intuitively involved in any way, you can be sort of adding on to that knowledge that you have. Also too, I'm seeing the Seven of Wands here. So this can mean that you have to, there can be a force that you have to work with that can be a bit difficult, but you still have to show up regardless, and you may have to stand your ground, or you may just have to like be in your light in a way that feels authentic. This Seven of Wands card, you see how it's this light sort of in the darkness. This can be maybe needing to stand alone because that's what you believe in, or like not dimming yourself regardless of the type of environment that you're in. It can be that sort of thing. This feels though like maybe not giving up on something that you've been doing, because Eight of Pentacles can speak about the experience that you have, but it can also be about what you've been sort of working on. And Seven of Wands can mean that there is a need for you to keep on doing what it is that you have been doing, and to trust yourself too. If you have been led in this direction, to stick with that. It can mean also that seeking a type of guidance that goes beyond, again, just what's sort of logically available. Not to say that logic isn't involved, that's also going to be integrated within this, but it can also mean needing to go about things in an intuitive way, or just like needing to trust your instinct, needing to trust your gut, to stay connected. And also too, if you get feelings about anything, it's about paying attention to that as well, because you may be getting stronger sensations about things, or stronger like feelings, gut reactions, and it's definitely a time to pay attention to it, because you are very much connected with the moon being there. Yeah. This feels like one of those times where your higher self knows where you're going and can be guiding you, but it can be a time when that gets questioned or checked in some way, and you have to keep going with what you've been working on. Hi, O. I will be with you very soon. This can mean too that you've been making a lot of progress with being able to tune in and listen to your intuition as well. Hi. Hi. I'm seeing the Hierophant on the bottom of the deck. Yeah, it looks like something is coming through. To have the Seven of Swords here, this can be This can be your own energy. It can be somebody else's energy. It is going to be corrected most likely. But what this means is that there can be like something slightly underhanded that's going on, and you have to sort of stay within your integrity if that does be the case. If this is your own energy sort of getting in your way, what you may realize is that there was a way of thinking or something that was going on where you weren't being totally honest with yourself or in a place of full truth with yourself. And it can be a time where something like that comes to light where, like, oh, I've been getting these intuitive messages, or I've been getting these feelings, and I've been pushing them down, or I've been avoiding them, or I've been trying to distract myself. You know, it can be a time of that happening. Because the High Priestess is going to be your moon energy communicating with you, like, hey, something is going on here, pay attention to it. But Seven of Swords can be like disregarding that, or like, oh, I don't need to, whatever. You know, whether it has to do with you and yourself, or it has to do with something going on with another person. Seven of Wands feels like I need to show up at a time when it can be difficult, and it can even mess with your head. Seven of Swords can. It can also, too, having Three of Wands here, this can be about progress that you've made, and it can be about where you're going, and there can be distortions that you're experiencing that are related to that, you know, thoughts that are coming up and you being receptive to something that is not in full truth. So something may be going well, or like actually being on track, and your intuition is confirming that, but then there can be a part of you that's like not able to fully see that, or maybe not totally recognizing that, or, you know, Seven of Swords can be a doubt that we experience as well. Let's actually clarify. Let's clarify with this. What is this Seven of Swords? It can be fear. I'm seeing Nine of Swords. It can be anxiety. It could be worried about something. What is this Seven of Swords? Conflict. If you're going through something that you're trying to make sense of, there can be a part of you that's having a hard time with that. Like, there can be some type of self-denial even that's connected with this. Because Seven of Swords can be something that, like, there's some type of truth, but there's a part of you that maybe is like burying it or repressing it. Because what I'm seeing is Five of Wands here. This is something that's being worked out, something that needs to be worked out. So it's something that sort of comes to the front and says, hey, I need you to address this. And then also having Seven of Cups here, this can be knowing something needs to be worked out and not really knowing what's going on, or I have to address this and I'm having mixed feelings about it, or I still haven't made total sense of this thing, and I know that I have to be here working this out, but I'm still trying to figure out how exactly to do that, you know, understanding myself. You can also feel like you're having mixed and conflicting feelings about something too, but having Seven of Swords here can be because you're not in full truth with yourself, if that is the case. So maybe something is coming to light that can be something that's hard for you to admit to yourself. Like your higher self coming through and saying, hey, pay attention to this thing, or hey, this is important, or hey, I'm giving you this information. And Seven of Swords can be the part of you that wants to deny it, or the part of you that wants to shut it down because maybe it's conflicting with what you want or how you want things to be. It can be difficult to admit to things in that moment, you know, and you can just be working through feelings about whatever this is. But yeah, it can be something that is difficult to admit to. Maybe too getting curious about this, like what is fighting this, you know? It can be the truth is here, and maybe that's a bit different than expectation or what I want the truth to be, my desire for what the truth is, and then those things are battling one another. So even though I'm seeing answers and clarity be available to you, at the same time it can be conflicting with how you want things to be, and things may not actually be exactly like that. And so you may be working with working through your feelings about that, about this being a thing even in the first place. Like, what isn't getting in the way of me seeing things clearly and fully here? It can also be when it comes to something that you're working on or something that you've been putting a lot of energy into, there can be something coming up and it feels a little bit disruptive, or like there's some type of issue that has to be addressed. But this is also going to help you understand just what's going on, how you're feeling. For some of you too, something else that can be coming up is that you can be having feelings about something and you may not have totally made sense of them yet. It can be something that's difficult to admit to for some reason with the Seven of Swords here. Seven of Swords is there sort of as a coping strategy of when we're not fully ready for the truth. Seven of Swords is like, here, give it to me, I'll hide it. You know, it's like that type of thing. So even though High Priestess is there saying like, hey, something has arrived, something is ready to be looked at, the part of you that's mentally feeling like maybe you're not ready to handle that can be pushing it down a little bit there. Because it can be something that you're feeling, but you're like, mentally, I don't want to know that, you know, or I don't want to see that, because it can be difficult to handle. What does that then mean, you know? What are the implications of that? But you have to listen, is what this feels like. I'm seeing you be in a very advanced position at this point. Three of Wands shows your intuition has carried you very far, and you're also very advanced intuitively. This means you also have like a high emotional understanding and intelligence because you're connected with that sense of your intuition, because you have an ability to understand things. And this is also like gained through experience too, of you connecting with yourself, of you touching base with yourself. So I'm seeing it's like carried you very far. You're far along on that process. Now it feels like where you are within the work, which again feels very advanced, something is coming up that can be messing with that a little bit, just with where you are with things. Because of something sort of coming up and revealing itself to you, and it can be something that's difficult to take apart, it can be something that's difficult to look at, and this can even be like, I'm hiding this thing from myself, or I'm hiding this thing from those around me, or I'm just like, I've been having a really hard time admitting this, or I keep noticing it coming up and I keep trying to push it back down, and then it's resurfacing and then I'm pushing it back down. It can be like that type of thing that's happening, but it feels like something that's ready to come up to be recognized. And this can be something that you've recognized most of it, but you're aware that you haven't. There's still a little bit more to something. Like with this card, see how all of this is out in the open, but there's like one more thing here? It feels like this needs to add that so the whole picture can be understood, but it's still, there's like a willfulness of sort of keeping that hidden or keeping that under, or not adding it to the rest of things where it needs to be all up there. And this can even be about a feeling that you're having because of the High Priestess here, and having that be connected with the moon. And also too, we have strength here, which is Leo, and this has to do with your heart and what's being expressed, like what you're feeling, and being brave enough to sort of stand within that, and sort of regardless of what's going on, to be able to sort of stand within your authenticity, regardless of what that's going to mean. As it feels like this is something that you've been working on. It may also be about like the future that you're fighting for, what you're working on. That can be part of this too. I'm seeing 3 of Swords. 5 of Cups. This can be something painful that's difficult to look at. Something that one may not even want to unpack. But feels drawn to this again and again. The way that the Queen of Cups fell over this, I'm gonna keep it just as it fell out. So here's the 3 of Swords, and then here's the 5 of Cups, and the Queen of Cups fell over it just like this. This is the part of you that wants to tend to this thing. Like, let's take this apart, let's understand it, but it can be very painful to sort of get close to that. But it feels like the weight of this, you're still carrying it with you, and it's not allowing you to integrate it. It's not allowing this to be worked with, and so you, even though this situation's over here, you can feel like you're still very much being emotionally impacted by that. And the part of you that wants to be liberated from that is like, we need to go back there and figure that out. Because it just feels like a bit of a mass of something. Like, see how this card, it's all tied up? It feels like each of these needs to be liberated, and so like all of the framework and understanding of that, it needs to be taken apart. But right now it's all converged together, and it feels like that keeps leading you to feeling the way that you feel, and it can be something that you can't shake. And this can be something very, very heavy to walk with. It can be heavy to work with. And this is the part of yourself coming through saying, hey, we need to take care of this. This needs to be addressed. But for some of you, you could have been like looking outward and looking elsewhere, like, hey, I want this person to come through and take care of it, when really this is a call to yourself to address this thing. It's like it's your thing that happened, and it's for you to come through and address this so you can move forward. But you can feel like there's this constant seeking of like, I want somebody else to do this for me. I want someone else to sort of like work this for me. But you're gonna have, it's like you're the only one that's able to come through and do this for yourself. This can be something that you've done that you don't feel good about, but it can also be something that like somebody else did that you don't feel good about. It can be like all tied up in something like that. I do get a lot of emotional stuff being involved within this. To have the Queen of Cups and to have the High Priestess, this feels like reconciling this part with yourself, but that something is going to need to surface that you could have been sort of like keeping from yourself, so the whole story wasn't all the way up and out there. And this can even mean like I haven't been telling myself the full truth here. It can even be about the way that I feel about something, you know, or like I haven't admitted how badly that hurt, you know. It can just be something that hasn't fully been unpacked yet is what this feels like, and it hasn't allowed this cycle to fully close out. It hasn't allowed this cycle to come to an end, so it feels like it's just droning on and on and on. So 3 of Swords would be like that initial thing that happened. Then 7 of Swords feels like the way that this is even dealt with, you know. It can be, I've avoided this, or I didn't say something and I should have said something about it, or I haven't fully admitted this to myself, or I wasn't fully honest about it. It can be like that type of thing. Again, this can be something that happened between you and another person. So that can also be a way that this works. Having 7 of Wands, it feels like needing to show up and not hide. It feels like needing to be like open and out with it, of like whatever this stuff is that had been going on. This Seven of Wands feels like needing to just like put it out there and have it be out there, because in this card it reminds me of like, rather than hiding something or keeping something, it's like just shining and being in a place of truth and authenticity. And this is something that can be the opposite of that. But it can be painful to keep that in, and then it can be something that's dragging you down again and again and again. And it feels like needing to be sort of like out there with whatever this is, and that you will find strength within that. But it can also be like needing to be willing to be in that energy, to be fully expressive. And that's what sort of brings you back together with yourself here. Especially if you'd been feeling not fully connected. This does feel like something that you've been working on. It just also feels like you're getting to a point of something being very big and something needing to be broken down. This can be a betrayal of some sort that hasn't been let go of. And even though for some of you it can be something like externally, like it can be something that you experience some type of betrayal, that like maybe somebody else did something to you, can be the feeling. It's about needing to sort of make, it's like mend within yourself based off of this thing that happened. Whether it was something that you did that you're carrying that with you, or something that happened, something that you experienced, you can feel like it hasn't allowed you to fully come back together with yourself. So if anything is sort of not allowing that relationship to come back together, and you can find this, a way that you can find this has been happening is that you can be sort of like seeking elsewhere, like somebody else to take care of this or to do this, like that type of thing. But you can always feel like you're not fully, something hasn't fully been integrated with you and yourself. It feels like this is the thing that sort of keeps something separate or keeps something at a distance, like you and your moon energy. And this is meant to be uniting, but you have to take away anything that is not aligned with total and absolute truth. That is the only way to purify this energy and to get things to be cohesive once again. But it can be something that's difficult to sort of stand within just because of the gravity of everything. So what I'm seeing happening is that it looks like there's moon healing that's happening, and you coming back to a place with yourself and also within yourself. And it can feel like the ground that you cover it won't feel like you're being held back so much anymore if you had been feeling like that, more so from an emotional standpoint. And it feels too like it allows there to be a reconciliation within you, like within your heart and within your mind, that you could have felt wasn't there before. Some of you, this has to do with a relationship that you've been working on, but even though it can be, this is something that you'd be involved in for a while. Even though, yes, another person can be involved, it's also about your relationship with yourself, too. And ways that maybe you've been avoiding, like totally and fully coping with something. But it can also be about like your mentality as a way of dealing with things, but you can feel like it hasn't been allowing me to get over this. And when I say get over it, I mean to actually break down my feelings about this and my experience and the narrative. It's like I've been carrying this wound with me, and I'm just carrying it and carrying it and carrying it, and it has not been healed. And this is something that definitely can be, but it feels like this was meant to encourage you to really like be within your own energy and be authentic within your energy rather than to hide yourself, because there's this understanding of the pain that comes from you not being fully within your energy, which can mean like somebody is doing something or asking, are you okay with it? And you're not okay with it, and you're not really saying that, you know? It can be just any parts of yourself that you're hiding, maybe even to avoid certain consequences too, of like, I'm trying to be agreeable in this situation or whatever, but then not being truthful about like how you feel or where you stand or what you think, you know, like those types of things. And needing to, again, with this card, it's like needing to show up just as you, like no mask, no nothing, like you just have to show up as yourself regardless of what's going on around you. And like maybe this person isn't and that person isn't and that person isn't, but it's about you showing up in that way. It's not about what anybody else is doing, it's about what you're doing. And then having strength there feels like the willingness for you to be in that authenticity and what that does for you on an emotional level. And this will be something that will allow you to be liberated in a way where you hadn't been. This is like something something you've been carrying with you that has you feeling down, has you feeling like I can't move forward with things because it hasn't been integrated. And this can also be something that like needs to be talked about, or it's just something that you're working through. You guys will know for you what this is, but yeah, there may be something that you need to call out or something that you've been feeling that you need to express with another person that you just haven't. And so it's been like festering within and it needs to be communicated. And you'll feel that this is going to unite things for yourself. You'll feel like I'm honoring myself here and I'm being true to myself. And that's mainly, it feels like the message of this, but there could be, based off of like what happened, not showing up in that way, but then feeling disconnected with yourself. I will say this too, for some of you, when it comes to your relationships with other people, or maybe even just a relationship that you have where you're really close with somebody, if you are not being your full self within that, what can happen is that you feel disconnected, like there isn't that full sense of intimacy that you want to experience, but it's because of like a lack of vulnerability. And that is also how I see this Seven of Wands card. It is a card of vulnerability, of you being in your authenticity, and how that is